welcome to episode 8 of the Behind Closed Doors podcast. We're back again. How are things, Ryan?
What for having a disaster with my camera here, mate? All good. There we
Having a
go.
shocker.
Having an absolute Reggie Blinker there.
Yeah,
All good, mate. All good. Good weekend. Went to a couple of games. Girls had a game yesterday up in Dundee. Another one. Went to a new ground I've never been to before. Downfield Juniors in the Midlands League. We're playing there. Pitch made Bonnyrigg look like a bowling green, but we got the win. How,
yeah,
how
it
you doing?
looked a muddy one, didn't it, from the
Oh,
photos?
aye. It was a muddy one. It was really bad. It was hard for the girls to play on, but we got the win. That's the main thing. I think no, the Downfield Juniors had played the day before, so
Right.
this time of year, like a grass pitch, try to have two games in 2 days is understandably difficult, but it was an experience.
Yeah, no, fair play. Another good result for the Rose, though.
That's
Still in a very good, strong league position.
that's it, mate. That's it. Fingers
Doing
crossed.
well.
What about you? How are you?
Good. Yeah, doing all right, man. No snooker at the weekend. All the tables were fully booked, so nah, but I've just been playing Football Manager to death since the last episode. So I've been playing through as East Fife. We tried to do a rebuild with them. So yeah, we missed out on the playoffs in the first season, and now I'm struggling to stay up in my second season. So it's not looking good. Like,
What should we get in the sack?
aye, I need to be careful with that, But yeah, hopefully they trust the process and give me a bit more time, But yeah,
After our football manager chat last week, I fired it up for about 5 minutes and then I couldn't decide who I wanted to go, so I turned it off again. So
just
I
one of
need
those.
that's what it was when I was flicking through all the teams and looking at squads. I was like, who do I want to go? And I couldn't decide. And I just thought I can't be bothered with this anymore and turned it off. So I'll get back into it, but it's just you know what it's like when you get into it. You need to you need to be kind of in the zone and have that feeling that this is going to be a good save. I wasn't getting that, so.
Yeah. I hate the feeling when things are going badly, then you get a good win streak going, and then it all just falls apart again. It's
Aye.
just it's brutal. But just when you think like you had a chance to the playoffs, start losing the games I should be winning, but it's all part of the fun.
That's it, mate.
I would tear my hair out, but I've got no hair, so don't have to worry about that. But yeah, plenty of football last week. We were at a game together as well, which I'll let you talk through. But yeah, I went to a couple of games, so I'll maybe start with the Tuesday game I was at last week. Let you talk about the Friday game, see what our thoughts are on that, and then I'll talk about where I went on Saturday. So
Sound?
yeah, so on Tuesday night, I was praying to the gods that the weather would be fine. There was a pitch inspection late in the afternoon, but it got the go ahead, and yeah, it went ahead. Donald Bluebell versus Dunbar United, East of Scotland qualifying cup. So yeah, and to be fair, when I arrived, the pitch was actually in pretty good nick, considering the weather, the heavy rainfall and stuff over the few days leading up to it. Before the game, probably thought it would be fairly close, but I would probably predict Dunbar United would win it. Um, it certainly was close, but not for long, to be honest. It was close probably for the first kind of 15 minutes or so, and then Dunbar just kind of did what Dunbar do. They just start kind of picking away at them, and they started creating a lot of good chances. Opened the scoring 17th minute, Dean Whitson. So that gave them a nice little cushion. Um, and yeah, it looked like it was going to be Dunbar's night. To be honest, they're just a really good attacking team, and
Yep.
it's a fast pitch. Dundonald. It's certainly the ball does zip about a bit, and tackles were flying in as well. But I've seen Bluebell come back before, and I kind of fancied them to at least have a go, which is what they did. 47th minute, Regan Lumsden equalised for Bluebell, and then it was game on. But then, we've seen this before, and I think it was the Broxburn game. You know, when the game's tight, and then Dunbar United just kind of turn a screw, and then they just go for it. They just want to get the game finished as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what they did. 65th minute, Byron Archibald makes it 2-1, and then it only took another 3 minutes, and the game was more or less wrapped up. Taylor Hendry, 68th minute. So still with just over 20 minutes to go. Fair play to Bluebell. We had a good crack at it. They had a go. But Dunbar United are a fantastic football team. See, every time I watch them, they impress me. And it was another one of those ones where, with the way that the ball was moving around so fast on the pitch, that it wasn't an easy game for them by any stretch. But they did do very well, and they managed to see it out. I mentioned, before I went to the game, I was quite looking forward to seeing a couple of the Recife players or former Recife players. They weren't actually playing, so like Callum Strang and Gary Layton were there, but they were watching. So I think they were maybe cup tied. So unfortunately, didn't get to see them. But yeah, certainly. I mean, that could have helped Bluebell in the night, to be honest, if they had them available. But it is what it is. Great result for Dunbar United, and yeah, the Seasiders bash on again. They're just a great team, especially obviously in the league, but are a great cup team as well, aren't they?
No, they're top side. Kevin Haynes has done a fantastic job there. Obviously, just getting promoted into the Premier this season, and then they're sitting fourth or fifth at the moment, having a great
Yep.
season. So they've got a fantastic squad there as well. Plenty of goals in the side too. So they're certainly a team that I think will just continue to go on that sort of upward trajectory. Good side to watch as well. I've not actually seen them for a wee while actually, so I need to get and see Dunbar. I can't remember. I think they might be. I can't remember if they're part of the Scottish Groundhog weekend. If they're one of the away sides.
Not they
Nah, I
might. I'm
don't.
not sure if well. Yeah, they might be one of the away sides. Yeah,
Can't
not
remember.
sure.
But
I need to check that.
if not, I'll definitely get along and see them again soon.
Yeah, superb. So that was the Tuesday night. Now, obviously Friday night we met up. Do you want to talk through that? It turned out to be quite a eventful evening for a fiver, didn't it?
Aye, I mean, when you go along to the Hearts B games at Ainsley Park or whether it was Whitehall last season, like £5 for a wee bit of Friday night football is you can't grumble at that. Like, the value's fantastic, and I definitely certainly got our money's worth. It was a good game. It was entertaining on and off the park, which I'll get into. But I I think I'm going to get banned for going to East Kilbride games, to be honest, because I said to you last week that I was really looking forward to hopefully seeing the true East Kilbride, because the only time I've seen them this season was when they got scalped 7-0 off of Tranent in the Scottish Cup. Um, so I did. That wasn't a true reflection of East Kilbride and how McKennedy has them set up to play. So I was hoping that Friday night I would get to see the true East Kilbride TV on form, like say John Robertson and Joel Baldy in the middle, and guys like that. But to be honest, I was really disappointed in them again. They were poor, but to be fair, you've got to give a lot of credit to Hearts. Hearts, I thought, were outstanding. Again, I think last week I'd maybe said that although I think Hearts got a win last weekend, they had went on a wee bit of slump in form, um, which is probably to be expected. Like the young side, try to maintain that level of consistency for such a young side is probably difficult. So just credit to Liam Fox and the job that he's doing there. But aye, Hearts were outstanding, to be fair. We obviously, as you said, we were at the game together, and we were initially standing sort of just at the tunnel where the players come out, but then the heavens opened and the rain started pouring down. So you had a good shout at moving over and going over to the new stand. And little did we know that Mick Kennedy was on a touchline ban. So we were actually standing right next to Mick Kennedy and right next to the dugout. And I think you made the point as well on Friday. Like, at these types of games where you can stand so close to the dugout, you literally feel like you're almost in the technical area and you can hear every shout, and you like it's brilliant. Like on one hand, like it's good entertainment because a lot of the time you get brilliant shouts, but it's actually quite interesting as well to actually stand or sit and watch like the coaches and how they sort of relay messages onto the players on the pitch and that. So that was class. Obviously, Mick had a touchline ban, but he was in the stand next to us, so he was pretty much in the dugout anyway, and he was still shouting instructions to players and making his feelings known when he wasn't happy, which I'm sure he wouldn't have found funny, but I think we did have a chuckle at some of the comments he was making. Cy Ferry as well in the dugout as well. It was interesting to watch him, and but in terms of the game itself, as I said, a wee bit disappointed in East Kilbride, but Hearts were fantastic, particularly through Callum Sandilands and young James Wilson up front, the two strikers. They were excellent. Didn't take long for Hearts to get into the lead. They looked like they came flying out the traps right for the start, to be honest, and looked well up for it. They had a wee penalty shout early on, which I think was never a penalty, but then they did get a penalty after about 10 minutes. And it was James Wilson that slotted it away. I'm sure he's only 16, James Wilson, and I'm sure he had quite a lot of interest from teams down south. I remember seeing Villa quoted as one of them. He looks like a really, really good prospect for Hearts. A minute or two after that, it was 2-0. And that one was Sandilands. Probably offside, to be honest. And there was a bit of controversy as well. It was a nice move for Hearts. I think it was Pollock. Finlay Pollock fired the ball across goal. And Sandilands was standing in an offside position looking at the highlights back, and he's kind of just like backheeled it into the net. The linesman appeared to put his flag up to flag offside, but then he quickly put it down. And then the goal stood, and obviously the Kilby players and bench were irate, asking the linesman, like, why did you put your flag up and then change your mind? And he denied it. But to be honest, the look on the linesman's face, I think he looked a bit sheepish. I think I get the feeling he knew he kind of made a bit of an error there. But that probably shouldn't have stood. But anyway, that was 2-0 Hearts. East Kilbride did get one back in the first half. After about 20 minutes, I think it was, they got a penalty on their own, which John Robertson put away. So at that point, I think we were probably both thinking, right, they've had a really poor start to this game, East Kilbride, but that goal gets them right back in it. And we've seen East Kilbride recently; they tend to go behind in games, and then they find a way back into the games. And I think Mick alluded to that, and he spoke about that to the guys at training, like they need to stop losing early goals and giving themselves a mountain to climb, because you're not always going to be able to get back into the game, and that's what happened on Friday. So I think it was just before half time, and probably the worst possible time for East Kilbride to concede another goal. I think it was Wilson again that got the third one.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Wilson again that got the third one. Again, it was just every time Hearts went forward, it looked like they were cutting East Kilbride open, like they were just breaking with absolute pace, and it just looked like Kilby couldn't live with the sort of counter attack for Hearts, and again they just cut them open, and I think that one went through the keeper's legs, but it was another good finish from Wilson. As I said, I think that was like right on the stroke of half time. So if East Kilbride are going in at half time 2-1 down, there's a really good chance they could come out in the second half and maybe get something for the game, come back and win it. But 3-1's given them a really big uphill struggle. But to be honest, in the second half, they did get an early goal in the second half. I think it was only a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes into the second half. It was Robert Thompson at the sign for Stirling Albion. He got a header from I can't remember if it was a corner. In fact, it was a free kick. It was Aaron Arnott put in a really, really good delivery for Thompson to head it in. So 3-2 at that point. Plenty of time remaining in the second half. And again, I think we were both thinking, right, they're going to get their finger at it now, and they're going to turn it on and come back. But again, I thought the second half they were really poor. They struggled to string two passes together. The likes of Baldy in midfield, like I thought he was posted missing, which expected. I was looking forward to seeing João Balde's a terrific player, but just didn't really get on the ball and make anything happen. And then eventually, I think it was about 15 minutes before the end, Hearts got their fourth just to kind of kill the game off. This was the pick of the bunch for me. Ball
Yeah,
was zipped out to the left to Bobby McCluckey, who came off the bench. Seen him a few times now for Hearts, being really impressed with him. Again, I think he's only like 16, 17. The first touch he took was incredible. The ball was zipped, like ball was zinged at him at some pace, and his first touch just to take like it sort of set him, and then he whipped it across the face of goal, and I think that was Sandilands that got his second at the back post. So 4-2. That's how it finished. Really good win for Hearts. As I said, disappointing in East Kilbride, but to be honest, I still I still feel they're going to go and win the league. They're too far ahead. So
yeah,
probably just a wee bit of bump in the road for them. But maybe they're just a wee bit of complacency maybe setting in East Kilbride just with the gap that they've got. But I'm sure Mick Kennedy and Si Ferry will address that. And because they want it, if they're going to win the league, there's a quick turnaround between winning the league and then playing in the playoffs. So you want to go into those playoffs in form. So I don't think Mick Kennedy will let the standards sort of drop. They'll want to keep winning and going into the playoffs if they do end up winning the league in form.
yeah, yeah. I think you're bang on there. I thought East Kilbride were miles off it, to be honest. When you looked at the starting lineup, and you've got guys like Baldy, Daramoa, Robertson, and that's just three of them.
Aye.
They looked very, very strong, and I thought they would have. I thought they would have won the game, or at least made it, pretty close. You know what I mean? But I do. What I would say is, I felt that the way that East Kilbride played, I felt that Hearts B figured them out pretty
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I've said to you before, I think the two centre backs at Hearts are solid, like, and they're very good at just stopping anything happening through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to be the thing, and maybe that explained why Daramoa was playing out so wide, and I mean, Robertson was at times he was playing in his own half.
It was like a holding midfielder at times, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Baldy, I just don't think he was on his day. His first touch was all over the place.
Aye.
Not like him at all. But yeah, take nothing away from Hearts B. I thought they were excellent, to be honest. The usual, those three players, we've mentioned them a few times now. Sandilands, McLucky, Wilson, they've all got big futures ahead of them. I thought the goal when Sandilands like held the ball up for like, it seemed like he held it up for an age, but he's so calm with his finish, and then
Aye.
he was only going to go one place. I did say when I was watching the game with you, I kind of, when I watched Sandilands, I wish you'd have a goal more times
Aye.
outside the box.
Yep.
Sometimes, but maybe that's part of his training where he's been told, if the shot's not on, don't take it. But there's a couple of times where I was expecting him just to hit it,
Mm-hmm.
put the keeper under pressure, but he was kind of waiting for the perfect moment. He wanted a couple of yards inside the box, but that'll come with experience. I mean, the boy's only 18. You know what I mean? He's unbelievable talent for 18 years old. And then you're talking about the 16-year-olds who've got in that team as well, playing against grown men and more than holding their own. So yeah, there's a lot of players there that have got a big future ahead of them, in my opinion. And
I think.
also, hmm?
Sorry, mate. On you go.
Yeah, we've talked about all the B teams and stuff, and personally, I wasn't in favour of the B teams, but when you see it kind of work, like I've seen them a few times this season.
Mm-hmm.
You see 16, 18-year-old players actually developing. Every time you see them, they get better.
Aye.
It does create an argument for it, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. And I think just from Hearts' perspective, as you said, there's a lot of exciting talent in that squad. I don't think for a club the size of Hearts, I don't think they produce enough players through the academy. Like if you
Yeah,
go back through the years, obviously, like you had like the likes of Aaron Hickey, but before that, really, going back to the likes of maybe Callum Patterson, Jamie Walker, Jason Holt. Again, they've went on to get decent moves, but they've not been like like a Craig Gordon, for
Yeah,
example. And in terms of strikers, you're going back a while since Hearts produced a right good striker. In my lifetime, I'm probably looking at the likes of Callum Elliott's probably been the best. Um, a bit too young to a bit too young to remember the likes of Robbo coming through, but so the likes of Callum Elliott's probably the best in my lifetime. And no disrespect to Callum because he was a good striker, but um, again for a team like you look at Hibs for example, Riordan, O'Connor, Fletcher,
oh yeah, yeah,
Griffiths, like boys like that, top quality strikers, but that's something that Hearts have struggled well over the years. So I think you said like the boy Sanderlands, like he's shown really good potential, and it's like he could be the sort of closest thing to a Shankland that Hearts have got coming through the academy. So exciting times for Hearts and for Scotland as well if boys like this are coming through.
yeah, yeah, definitely. They just need time, and as I say, they're getting better. They're only going to improve over time. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. Just a shout out as well, just to the Kilby fans as well. I was speaking to a
Yeah,
couple of them before the game and at half time and stuff. I thought they brought through a really brilliant support. And even though they'll probably agree their team were miles off it on the pitch, they made a noise the entire game. They were constantly singing. I think they brought a couple of buses through. So fair play to them. They travelled in their numbers, got behind the team even when they weren't playing well. So and the guys I spoke to were a good bunch as well. So fair play to them.
yeah, seem like good guys to be honest. So yeah, fair play to them, but I'm sure they'll, they're still on track. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But yeah, that was the Friday night game. Saturday, I said I was going to go to the Swifts derby. Inverkeven Hillfield Swifts versus Jeanfield Swifts at the Dalgety Bay Sports and Leisure Centre. So I hadn't been there for a while, to be honest. I was quite looking forward to going back. It's fairly local to me, so it's good. And obviously with Rosyth, what happened there, they're probably it's them and Cowdenbeath are probably my two local non-league teams now, eh? So but yeah, so I popped along to that. And yeah, it turned out to be a pretty good game. Again, if I was to predict, I'd probably say Jeanfield Swifts were the favourites. However, they had been defeated by Hillabeef Hawthorn the week before, so there was definitely an opportunity there for Inverkeven to put them under pressure and have a go. I noticed that the lineup before kickoff, the two players I was kind of looking out for, I guess, Mahadi, we've talked about before on the
Mhm.
last show, and Mansouri was just back from Bonus Athletics. So they both started on the bench, so they didn't start. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that was they weren't fit. I don't know, but they were both playing off the bench. So you got two impact players there. The way the game played out, so obviously, Genefield Swifts were phenomenal. Like to put it lightly, a really, really good passing side. You can tell why this is a team that absolutely obliterated Elgin City and probably could have scored more. In the Scottish Cup, just a really good passing team, really technical team. They got the lead. Dale Robertson giving the lead there, and they looked like they were on top. But fair play at Inverkeven Hillfield Swifts would get stuck in. They don't, especially at home, they don't give up. So the other going, Liam Kelly, who's he's a fantastic underrated player at Inverkeven Hillfield Swifts, in my opinion, anyway. He kind of gets the equaliser 38th minute. So 1-1 at half time, all to play for. I was expecting probably a fairly close second half. To be honest, it just wasn't. Janefield Swifts knew they had to kind of up their game a bit, and they just really kind of took it to the next level. Got another goal for Dale Robertson, and then Northcutt got another one, so they got their 3-1 lead. Um, So yeah, it turned out to be a fairly comfortable win for Genefield Swifts, but I have to call out that the Inverkeven goalkeeper Gibb was outstanding on Saturday. Some of the saves that he was pulling off, at times, I mean, he pulled off some good saves in the first half. In the second half, I think there was an indirect free kick inside the box, must have been about 10 yards from or 15 yards from the line, and they defended that like there was four shooting attempts from Genefield Swifts, defended every one, and he was a big part of that. The saves he was pulling off, um, and fair play, Genefield Swifts on their X actually kind of called out that it was good goalkeeping from the home side, that kept the score down. He was fantastic in the sticks, so fair play to them, and they played some good stuff. I felt when Mahadi came on, I mean, obviously when they were getting beat, they still had a chance of getting a draw or winning, and then obviously Mansouri as well. They both definitely made a positive impact on the game, but they didn't really do enough to change the outcome, unfortunately. But to have two quality players like that on your bench, though, is quite impressive. So I was just happy that obviously Mansouri's back. I hope it's long term because he was great when I saw him before. I think the previous season, and Mahadi, he's impressed me. He's probably not scored as many goals as I think. But maybe I've just caught him on the wrong days. But he's some unit. Like, I mean, his frame can't be easy to mark, and you just kind of wish that they try to win more corners and get him in about the box, because I would expect, the guy's really really tall. He's quite built as well. Must be like a bit of a fox in the box, but I just don't. I'm not seeing the chances for him to capitalise at the moment.
I not I, as you know, I rate Luke Mahadi a lot. I remember when I first saw him at training at Bonnyrigg, and like, he just kind of turned up, and nobody really knew much about him. But right away, you just saw this kind of like, as you say, big guy, like looked an imposing figure, and I mind asking folk, who's that boy that's training? And then obviously he signed a sort of short-term contract, and didn't they really feature as much as he probably would have liked. But the games that he did feature in, I was quite impressed with him. I think the other supporters were quite impressed with him as well. Um, as you said, he's a handful. A nightmare to defend against. He showed, I can't remember the game he scored in. He scored at New Dundas Park. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember it was a good finish. So he showed that he can finish. He's a good player, and I'm sure he will do well for Inverkeven at that level, as long as he gets the service.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I just remembered
Um,
as well that I said I thought Dunbar were in the Scottish Groundhog weekend, and they're away to Genefield, so that'll be a good
oh
game.
right, that's a cracker. Yeah, wow.
I just
Yeah,
checked.
that'll be
I,
something special, that game.
I just checked that there now, just to remind myself who Genefield were playing, because I knew they were one of the home sides, and it's Dunbar that they're playing, so it'll be a good one.
Yeah, that's class. Um, so yeah, those were the games we were at. Maybe just take a quick look at the leagues and see if there's anything worth calling out. Maybe start with the Lowland League.
Yep.
First of all, so I think there were a few games that took place. Was there any results that stood out to you, Ryan?
Results wise, not particularly. There was nothing really. Um, no real surprises, I guess. Just Linlithgow getting a couple of wins in a row now after a wee bit of a poor spell with a win over Cali Braves, beating them 1-0. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think, that Strollers, their home form, how good that is. They hadn't lost a home game since October. So they lost 2-0 at home to Stirling Uni at the weekend. So that long, impressive run is over for them. But tough opponents in Stirling Uni. So, but credit for going that long without a home defeat. Just again looking through the results, nothing really standing out. A narrow defeat to Celtic for Berwick, they were going really, really well. I think they had like 4 or 5 wins in a row, but they've lost their last two, so just a wee bit of a slump from them. But with the players that they've signed, I'm sure they'll bounce back. Um, Again, a team that were kind of struggling a wee bit, but have picked up Callum Elliott's Cowdenbeath, going to
Yeah,
Gala, winning 2-1. Daryl Healy getting a couple of goals. You mentioned Dundonald earlier. He obviously previously played for them. I think
yep,
he'll get goals for Cowdenbeath once he's fit and firing all cylinders. Other than that, big win for Cumbernauld Colts away to Gretna 4-1. Actually had a look, and Cumbernauld Colts have only lost 2 games in the league since September of last year, and both of them have been East Kilbride. So
yeah,
that's just shows what a run they're on this season. And obviously there was a Sunday game as well. Trinent went to the Rock and beat Broomhill 3-1. A few signings for Trinent during the week as well. They got the boy Jack Duncan for Cowdenbeath, Jamie Watson for Cali Braves, and they signed a boy on loan for Brecon as well. So a few bodies in the door for Trinent after they obviously lost a few boys like Alison Jones and that. But nothing really stood out, to be honest. Just um, no real surprises in the results in the Lowland League.
yeah. I would agree. Obviously, Broomhill have kind of fallen away a bit.
Aye.
Um,
Yep.
After starting so well at the start of the season, I mean, they were up there with very close to Cumbernauld Colts for a good chunk of the start of the season, but they've kind of been dropping a lot of points, home and away. So yeah, they're kind of falling down the table. But Trinent just showing really good recruitment there. You mentioned Jack Duncan. Jack Duncan's a player I rate quite highly. I think he's a really good young player. I felt he probably deserved a bit more game time
Mm.
at his previous clubs, but I think he'll be outstanding for Trinent. To be honest, I think that's what they need. They need uh, a bit of youth in that defence. I think he's one of those guys that are he as long as he gets enough game time, I think he'll be a cracking player in the long run for them.
No, he certainly seems like a really astute signing. A couple of decent bits of business for Trinent. Um, they've obviously got like Cammy Ross up front, Lennon Walker that scored as well. So they do have quite a good young side there, and adding the likes of Duncan will sort of help that, especially in the long term as well. Um, just another call actually that I totally forgot to mention, but Albion Rovers I think are a team that have kind of went under the radar a wee bit. They drew 0-0 with Bonesh United, which is a decent result, but I checked and Rovers are actually unbeaten in 8 games.
Yeah,
There's a couple of draws in there, but mostly wins, and I think they've got about 3 or 4 games, maybe more in hand, on the teams above them. So you could potentially, if Rovers keep up that form, you could potentially see them break into the sort of top 6, top 5. Um, Whereas for majority of the season, they've kind of been down the bottom end of the table. But come the end of the season, so if they win the games in hand and if they keep that sort of run of form, they could be right up there and at the sort of top end to the table. So something to build on for next season for them.
yeah. I agree. I think, to be honest, I think Sandy Clark's done a cracking job in the transition to being in the Lowland League. Yes, they probably have drawn too many games. There's been games that they probably should have won. They've dropped points, but you know what I mean. At this stage of the season, 24 games played and only lost 6 times. You can't fault that. To be honest, it's a tough league, and they don't lose often. The times I've seen them, apart from I think Stirling Uni beat them 1-0, they drew 0-0 with Cowdenbeath. They were really impressive that night. It's just a team that doesn't concede many goals, to be honest, and
No.
they're. I think I totally get. Maybe some of the Albion Rovers fans are a bit frustrated after coming down, going down a tier, and maybe expecting to be higher up the table, but it's not quite worked out like that. But I think they are still a decent team. And I think that maybe next season again, if they can, boost their recruitment a wee bit, I think they could be certainly the top end of that table. But they've had a decent season, in my opinion, with what they have, and they've got a lot of young players as well. So And as we know, young players make mistakes. The young player Bevan, was it Bevan, the one that?
Went to Burnley.
Aye, that's it. The academy, yeah. Um, and Joseph's top class player,
I think
top class player.
I think Albion Rovers have recruited well. Like you've obviously seen the likes of Shire and Berwick, Cowdenbeath go down. Cowdenbeath have done pretty well as well, but Berwick and Shire have been kind of languishing in the Lowland League for a wee while now. They're slowly but steadily improving, but I think Albion Rovers, straight from the sort of outset, recruited well and gave themselves a decent chance of not winning the league right away, but put those foundations in place with the likes of Joseph signing, maintaining Bevan, albeit he has gone now, but they managed to keep him. Whereas there probably would have been teams looking at him at this like during the summer um, for what he'd done in League Two last season. But I think them and Cowdenbeath, I think with a few additions in the summer, I think we could see Rovers and Cowdenbeath, and I don't think Shire will be too far behind as well, and hopefully Berwick as well. Will get themselves up there as well, and we can see a lot of these teams sort of challenging at the top end of the table again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And just another call out, Joe Bevan, he actually scored his first goal for Burnley's academy as well. So he's off to a flyer there. It's still, I mean, it's not going to be easy to get anywhere near
Aye,
the first team, but he's only 19-year-old. And if he can do well at the academy, I'm sure he's going to have a great future down south. So
definitely.
yeah, just shows you there are a lot of talented players in the Lowland League, and some of them they are more than capable of stepping up.
Well, he was playing for what Kilsyth Rangers only 2 or 3 years ago, and then came one.
Yep.
So it's been some rise for him in such a early stage of his career. Fair play to him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so moving on to the East of Scotland Football League. There are quite a few goals to be fair. Start looking at the Premier Division first of all. Broxburn continue to push on towards the league title. 6-0 win at home against Lunkerty. No surprises there, but yeah, they are just dispatching any team that comes near them at the moment. Um, but the teams below them are also continuing to push on. We've talked about, Hutchie Vale have been, I guess, they are the closest team that will give them a challenge while Genefield trying to catch up with their games in hand. Hutchie Vale winning 4-1 against Crossgates away. Again, not a surprise by any means, but a fantastic win for them. Um, any other games that stood out for you, Ryan?
I just really quickly on the Broxburn one, like you said,
Mhm.
they're motoring on. I think the teams like Hutchie that are continuing to win, they're they're keeping the sort of, I don't know if they're keeping the sort of pressure on Broxburn, because to be honest, I think it's only a matter of time now before Broxburn can mathematically win that league. Um, Alison Jones getting another absolute peach of a goal and man of the match for the second game in a row. So as long as he keeps doing that, it's not going to be long before they win that league. But in terms of other games, there was a good point on the road at Musselburgh for Hillybeef, drawn 1-0. Didn't see that coming,
Yeah,
to be honest. I know we've mentioned Hillybeef um, a few times in terms of how well they're doing, but to go to Musselburgh, they're a top side, and get a point, there's a good point there. You mentioned you went to see Dundonald, and you were hoping to see a couple of the extra Scythe boys playing. Uh, Leighton and Callum Strang both started in that game. Strang got his first goal for the club as well, and a 5
yeah,
0 win against Canoe. So good win for Dundonald, and the Rosyth boys making a bit of an impact there. Other than that, Tiny and Haddington played out a 1-1 draw. Tom Davis, that signed for Haddington from Arniston, got his first goal. Bit of peach by all accounts as well. Um, game that I was One of the games that I was going to potentially go to, but I didn't go to, Dunbar against Socky. That was a 1-1 draw. I suppose on reflection, probably not too surprising given how evenly matched they are in the table. I think they're only separated by a point, sixth and seventh respectively, or fifth and sixth respectively. I think so. Draw, not really surprising there, but I no real. again, similar to Lowland, mate, no real sort of surprises in there. Obviously, a lot of goals, as you said, with Broxburn 6-0, Hutchie winning 4-1, 5 for Dundonald. But biggest surprise to me is probably Musselburgh not winning. But again, it's
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't say it's a massive shock, but I expected them to probably win that.
yeah. I mean, I was speaking to a few guys I know during the week, and I mean, Hill of Beef have definitely turned a corner.
Yep.
They beat Jeanfield last week.
Mhm.
They got a point on the road against Musselburgh. They certainly seem to be improving because for a while they were kind of struggling a bit.
Mhm.
They're seventh in the league now, but they're showing against the bigger teams that they can handle themselves. So hopefully they can continue to push on from that.
Aye, no, definitely. They've got good players, Hillybeef. They've got RossAloom up front, who's always scored at a level, and they've still got Big Dan Bauer as well at centre half, ex
Mm.
Hearts centre half that was at Bonnyrigg for a wee while. I think he had brief spells at Linlithgow as well. So good side, Hillybeef, and yeah, no surprising to see them turning the corner and doing well.
Yeah, so um, moving on to the first division, right? So the first thing I need to call out, right, and we've been talking about them every week. Leaf Athletic, right? We're like asking how long can this like win streak go on? And they've done it again. They're away to Kirkcaldy and Dysart.
Mm.
They've won 2-1 and they're up to sixth in the table. Obviously the table has been updated with Recife. All their points and everything's been deducted, and the rest of the results have been adjusted accordingly as well. So it wasn't long ago that Leaf Athletic were in that bottom three or just above
Aye.
that bottom three, and now they're looking top six. They're where Recife were a couple of weeks ago. So what a run of form they're on, unbelievable, and um, they've really turned a corner. You know what I mean? Incredible.
It just shows no sign of sort of stopping for them at the moment. It's like the confidence in the team must just be absolutely sky high. But Kane Patterson getting another double in that game as well.
Yep.
So it's 5 wins in a row and up to six, as you said. Albeit one of those wins has been voided. That one of those wins was the 5-0 win against Recife. But I know on paper that result no longer stands. But I mean, technically they've still won 5 games in a row. Absolutely flying. And again, it's not as if they've made like sort of wholesale changes to their squad and brought in players that have. We obviously spoke about the Bull, how he came in and made a bit of an impact right away. But I think he's been on the last 2 games. He's been on the bench, so um, it's it's the same players that they've had all season really that are doing all this good work and having the team on a great run. So hopefully it continues. A lot of good folk at Leaf. Um, Good to see them doing so well, and I just you just wonder how long. We said it before. How long can they keep this up? But the way they're playing, I can't. I'm going to jinx them now, but you just can't see them losing. We'll speak about it next week how they've lost, and I'll get the blame for that now.
Yeah. Hopefully we're not jinxed them there, but yeah, they've been on fantastic form. I guess there's a couple other results there. What else kind of stood out for you in the first division?
um, Pace went back to the top of the league. Big 4-1 win at home to Preston Athletic.
Yeah,
So Camelin game down at uh, Vale Leaving was off, and Newton Grange didn't have a game either as well. So Pace took advantage of that with a big win. And again, another extra side player getting his first goal for the club, Aidan McAvoy,
yep,
getting his first goal. So yeah, Pace going 2 points clear at the top. Obviously, still got a couple of games in hand. So again, that's him in the driving seat. But a lot of football still to be played. Camelin and Nitton, I'll still have a say in that, I'm sure. Um, Speaking of a team that sort of want to have a say in that, I don't know, they've not been on the best of form recently, maybe giving themselves a wee bit too much to do, but Whitburn,
yep,
um, they've kind of faltered a bit. I mentioned a few weeks ago I think it was when they took quite a heavy defeat to Bo'ness Athletic. Their manager had done the halftime team talk in the stand alongside the fans, and ever since then their form's been a bit ropey. But big win for them away to Arniston, winning 2-0. And there was a bit of doubt whether that game was going to go ahead just with the pitch at New Byres, but it went ahead. But it was 2-0 to Whitburn. Their first goal, they've put their VO footage up of the goals on the Rex, and the first goal's an absolute peachy a goal. I'm not too sure who scored it because they've no they've not really put any updates in terms of who scored the goals or that. They've just put the VO footage, but absolute rakery a strike. But that's probably a big win for Whitburn. Just sort of gets them back to winning ways, and they'll be wanting to put a wee run together and try and get back into that promotion top three.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So some great results there. Just moving on to the second division now. There were a couple of shocks. Now, the first thing I have to call out before I forget, right? So we've been talking about Fort and Hibs quite a lot, um, and obviously, they've won again. They've won 2-0 away to Tweedmouth Rangers. Now, talk about milestones, right? Fort and Hibs put this up on the Rex. So we talked about Craig Gilbert. We had pretty much a section about him recently and how great it is. Guys that spend a long time at a club and they kind of embed the values of the club and they do amazing things. He now has 250 wins as manager for Fort and Hibs.
Impressive,
Incredible.
impressive.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned that a few weeks ago. Like in this day and age, you'll struggle to find a manager at a single club that has 250 games under his belt, never mind wins. So that's incredible milestone, and as you said, another win for them, 8 wins in a row for Thornton Hibs now. I noticed that they announced a few contract extensions as well during the week,
Yep.
which is obviously good for them. They're flying at the moment, getting their key players tied down. So yeah, they're absolutely flying, Thornton Hibs.
You
Speaking of
talk about.
contract extensions as well, actually, just going back to Leaf, I noticed they've been
Mhm.
announcing a lot of contract extensions
Oh
as well.
yeah.
So again, similar situation to Thornton Hibs, two teams that are on form, getting the players that are playing well tied down as well for next season. So that can only boost teams like Leaf and Thornton Hibs as well.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of teams are looking to next season,
Yep.
especially teams that are doing well. So obviously building for the future. Um, one of the big upsets in the second division was Kennoway Star Hearts winning 3-2 against Dalkeith Thistle. Dalkeith Thistle have been on the brink of the top three for a while. Obviously, they're not going to catch up with Fortin Hibs for as long as Fortin Hibs are winning games, but that's another big 3 points dropped for them if they want to chase Fortin Hibs, because Fortin Hibs have got 3 games in hand
Mhm.
over Dalkeith Thistle. And as I say, they keep winning games. It's that the margin's just going to get bigger and bigger. So massive defeat there, a shock for Dalkeith Thistle, who have been really good this season, but they have lost far too many games. We're talking about teams that, like Stirling University, who they only win or lose, they never draw.
Aye.
Dalkeith Thistle's another one. They only win or lose, they never draw games, and they've got 8 defeats now this season out of 19 games, and you'd expect them to be quite far down the table with that, but because they've won every other game, they're sitting in fourth. So yeah, a bit of a shock there. Um,
A really
Noticed,
cold team.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, so there was a few goal fests, but I think obviously Edinburgh College winning 3-0 against Coldstream. We were talking about them. When are they going to start pushing up? Try and get back up the table to where they should be, and they're up to sixth now. So a good 3-0 win for them there.
I know it's Greg Binney
Um,
scored in that. I think we mentioned a few weeks ago they
oh
signed
yeah,
Greg Binney from Lowland through Broxburn and Kerr Allen as well from Dunbar. So a couple of good signings there for them. But I noticed Binney scored at the weekend. Don't know how. I know he scored at least one. I don't know who scored the other two. But, with signings like that, they should climb the table.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, they've recruited really well. Anything else to call out in the second division?
Probably Edinburgh South beating Armadale 3-0. really good win for Edinburgh South at Patty's Road. I'm not massively surprised by that because I think Edinburgh South have been doing reasonably well recently, but they've got a massive number of games in hand on the teams around them. So I think they've potentially got like 6 or 7 games in hand on the teams around them. I think
Yep.
they might have played the same amount as Thornton Hibs, or maybe just one less. So I think it'll be hard, still difficult for them to break into that top three. But certainly the teams around them, if and another team with obviously find at this time of the season, and especially when you go lower down the tiers, the sort of tables are well out of sync just with postponements and stuff. So they could potentially shoot up the table with some wins there, but a good win for them against Armadale, who are obviously challenging for the promotion themselves.
Yeah, totally. Edinburgh South, they've only lost 2 games this season. I know they've only played 14, but if they win their games in hand, they shoot right up the table. So
Exactly.
as you say, the table does lie when there's big gaps between teams in terms of games played.
Aye.
So that'll soon be a bit more realistic once the teams have caught up. So yeah, some
Forgot to
great
mention as
results.
well, just really quickly in
Mhm.
terms of like we mentioned like the table and stuff there. Obviously, you mentioned that the Recife results have all been voided, so that
Yeah.
actually, although it's obviously it's sad for Recife, but for the other teams, it can have a negative effect on other team standings, or it can have a positive effect. But certainly, I mentioned the last couple of weeks that the likes of Whitehill and Arniston were in sort of dangerous territory in that league, but um, those results being voided has eased a bit of the pressure on them. I think they were very close to dangerously close to the relegation zone, but that's eased a bit of pressure on them. So that you could potentially see that benefit in their results going forward if they're going into games
Mm.
knowing that there's no quite as obviously they're no out the woods yet, but there's no quite as much pressure. Like they're no like they're no out the relegation zone on like goal difference or by the odd point. So you might find that benefits their performances playing with slightly less pressure on their shoulders.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, that was the second division. Third division, another team. We talk about them every week, and we will continue talking about them for as long as they keep winning. Lochgelly Albert winning 2-1 at home against Fauldhouse. Um, as I said, that team are just much like Leaf Athletic. They're on some streak at the moment, and they are now joint points with Hoyk Royal Albert, who are in fifth. So they're sixth, but by goal difference. Unbelievable turnaround, and to be honest, I think they're going to continue winning games. I honestly think they look like they've recruited really well, and they've got the wheels in motion now. They just seem to be every week we talk about them, they're winning. So yeah, what a team!
7 unbeaten for them now.
Wow, yeah.
Absolutely flying. Like considering where they were near the start of the season, but the East of Scotland third division is quickly becoming my favourite division. Um,
Mm,
and I've been looking out. I find myself every week now just purposely looking for Lochgelly's results to see if they're maintaining that run. So I need to get myself along to one of the games at Purvis Park, or if they're playing away somewhere a wee bit more local, I need to go and see them soon. I've not seen them this season, but again, I don't want to jinx them. Like first time I rock up at one of our games, they get beat. But nah, I want to go and see them because they're absolutely flying, and I credit to them.
yeah, definitely. I guess the other results were pretty predictable. You know, West Calder winning 5-0 against Edinburgh Community keeps West Calder rooted at the top of the table, albeit just by a point. Humferston beating Linton Hotspur 2-0 keeps them, they're in fourth, so they're still trying to get back into that top three at the moment. And then Harthill Royal getting back to what they should be doing is winning those games, especially at home. They've beaten Hoyk 3-0, which keeps them in third spot. So yeah, as I say, probably fairly predictable results, but you know, everyone's talking about Lochgelly Albert at the moment, and rightly so. They're on some form, and I don't think any of the teams above them will be looking forward to playing them soon. That's for sure.
No, absolutely. And just going back to West Calder, talking about like unbeaten runs, another wee stat for you: 12 unbeaten for West Calder, and it's the third game in a row that they've scored 5 goals. So,
Wow.
so entertainment entertainment value at West Calder games at the moment is sky high. I'm
Yeah,
happy to see them top because, as I said last week, they were my tip to go and win the league. So hopefully they go and win it.
yeah. There's some team, and they're playing Hill of Beef on Saturday in
Right.
the one of the cups as well. So I think again, you'd think Hill of Beef are Premier Division, West Calder or Third Division. It means absolutely nothing in that game. West Calder are more than capable of playing the teams above them. So that could be interesting.
Wouldn't it surprise me if we're talking about another really high scoring game in that one?
Yeah,
I wouldn't rule out West Calder. I think Hillabeef will probably maybe have too much for them, just being the Premier League team. But I certainly think West Calder will give them a game. I'm going to stick my neck out on the line and say that'll be something crazy like a 5-4 or something.
yeah. It could be. It could be.
No,
It
no,
could be
and
one
come
of
in.
those games. Should be a cracker. So that wraps up all the action from the east of Scotland now. So as we've been doing for the last few weeks, we want to talk about different things, but try and keep it related to football in some shape or form. The next thing is something which I'm quite passionate about. I know you are too, Ryan. I love like lots of different films, like horror films, crime thrillers, and all this, but I absolutely love football films, like or films that are loosely connected in some way to football. And I've got quite a few that I'll talk through, but what I'll do is before I steal the glory, Ryan, I'll give you a chance to call out some of the films that you like and you like watching and the reasons why.
The first one, as soon as you said to me, let's talk about football films, the first one that came to my mind, and I'm sure this will be on your list as well, was ID. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I knew that would be on your list.
Yeah.
Like, I do like like. There's obviously a lot of sort of like football hooligan sort of gangster related films, and for me, ID that's my favorite one. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm sure you had mentioned it to me recently. I don't know if you had. In fact, I'm sure it was a T-shirt that you bought from Terrace Cult.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we plug for Terrace Cult there if they want to sponsor us and get us out in some free gear. But you bought the Shadwell T-shirt, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
when I saw you had bought that, I was like, I've not seen ID for ages. I need to go and watch it, and I watched it again, and it was just that it's brilliant. If anybody's not seen ID, go and watch it. It's like a football casual film, but for me, it's my favourite one. Um, there's obviously a lot of football casual films. Football Factory is one that I like as well. It's it's a wee bit more. It's not as kind of serious and as dark as ID. It's a wee
Yeah.
bit more like Danny Dyer's in it, so it's a wee bit more light-hearted, if you like. But it's still a good one. So those are the kind of two like uh, football hooliganism related film. Not that I'm condoning football hooliganism in
Yeah.
any shape or form, but those are good. Those are good films. Um, just sort of away from that side, but still football related. Um, one of the best football films I've seen is Damned United. Don't know if you've
What a
seen that.
shout. Yeah. Wow.
Um, when I was trying to rack my brains to think of football films, the Damned United, Michael Sheen, when he obviously portrays Brian Clough.
Yeah.
What a film that is, and he plays that part so well. Um, if anybody's not seen that, watch it because it's brilliant. Um,
Yeah.
a sort of more comedy football film, Mean Machine.
A very, very underrated film. I saw that at the
So
cinema.
so
Classic.
underrated. Vinnie
Yeah.
Jones. Vinnie Jones, obviously a professional footballer, gets sent to the Nick, starts a um, football team in the jail, and they play against the guards in that brilliant film. Brilliant film. Um, I think those are probably my top ones. There was a few other ones I kind of picked out that I'll give a wee mention to. classic that be back in the day, Bend It Like Beckham.
Oh yeah.
I think that was a classic just for Keira Knightley. I think that's why I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that one. Shot at Glory, Wally McCoist.
Classic.
Aye. What was the other one? Mike Bassett, England manager. I can't actually remember that. I might need to watch it again. I can't remember if it was actually decent or not. I think I remember snippets of it. And then I don't know if you've ever seen or heard that there's only one Jimmy Grimble.
No, I don't think I have. No.
Again, I can't really remember because it was that long ago that I've watched it. But I think it's an older one. But it has Ray Winston in it and Robert Carlyle, and it's basically
Oh,
the storyline is basically this wee boy is like a diehard Man City fan, if I remember correctly, and an ex-player gives him these like old battered football boots, but they make like they're like magic football boots, and they turn them into like a brilliant player. Again, it's been that long since I've seen the film, so it might be utter dug meat, but I just remember watching. I remember that one from years ago. But those are the ones I had on my list. What about you?
those are good picks. You definitely had a couple that I had, but I've got some others that I'm going to mention. So firstly, so everyone thinks I just don't watch like only football casual films, right? I love like football hooligan films. I love, as I say, true crime films,
Yep.
and that's basically what it is. It's true crime. It's
Aye.
gritty, kind of British films and stuff. So I will talk about them, but before I do that, so people don't judge my character, right? First one to call out is Goal from
Oh,
2005,
how did I forget
right?
that?
So that this film, again, I saw it when it was in the cinema, and I think one of the main reasons I wanted to go and see it was because of Anna Friel, because I had a bit of a crush on her back. She's still outstanding today, to
Aye.
be
Yep.
honest.
She's a bit of me.
But she's unreal. But yeah, that's like if you're like a young lad and you're like playing football, even with your mates, it's just one of those best films to watch to kind of motivate you. So it's about the amateur footballer in Mexico that just by chance gets scouted by a guy that knows someone that knows the Newcastle United manager, and then he gets a trial which he messes up. And I'll not spoil it, but anyway, he ends up playing for Newcastle United. And to be honest, the first film is an absolute classic.
Mm.
And there's actually not there's a lot of football in it, but there's a lot of real life in it as well. But then, like obviously, the rest of the franchise took a bit of a strange turn. He's like 1 minute he's playing for Real Madrid, the next minute I think he's in the World Cup. It just gets a bit silly, but goals are classic. Like I always
Aye.
go back to that every few years, and it kind of brings back the memory when I was a kid and stuff.
I
So
can't believe I forgot about that. Used to love that film. Great
classic
shout. Great
movie.
shout.
Yeah, so that's the first one I'll call it. That's not a hooligan film. Another one I'll call out, and again, it's not a hooligan film. And I actually only watched this for the first time recently, which is Mental, right? Because it came out in 1996 and everyone's heard about it. When Saturday Comes,
I've never seen
right,
that.
with Sean Bean. So this is it. So there are people
Oh,
that haven't seen it. I
uh,
hadn't seen it till recently, and I watched it,
is there
and
a
it was
Sheffield
so
United
good. I
fan in it?
watched it again. What's that?
Is there a Sheffield United fan in it?
That's it. Yeah,
I think I've seen
it's
that.
kind of like if they made a story about like Rab Douglas, but he was a striker. That's what it'd be. It's kind of
Right.
like that. I mean, I love the real life Rab Douglas story where he's like on a building site and then he ends up turning professional at 26 or 27. When Saturday Comes is kind of similar to that. It's a guy with loads of ability that's got a job and he's got a bit of a drink problem. I'm not saying Rab Douglas has got a drink problem, but like, yeah, when Saturday Comes, I watched it recently and I watched it again not long after because it's tremendous, right? So those are the
Shout.
kind of wholesome films. So I'll get on to the real stuff I like, right? So we talked about Football Factory. Football Factory is a classic, right?
Mm.
I love any film that Nick Love's involved with as a director because I think he's just absolutely brilliant. He's great. He's really good at obviously covering British culture at a point of time, and he's very good when he done the remake of The Firm as well. The Firm but that was 2009. The original Farm was a classic, but in my opinion, it was too short. So I think the original cut, the theatrical cut's only about 70 minutes
Right.
of the Farm. So I always wanted a longer version. Apparently there is a longer version, but you need to buy the Blu-ray, which I probably will do at some point. But anyway, the remake came out 2009, and me and my mates went to see it. I even wore a Sergio Tacchini jacket that I had and stuff. We all got, I'm sure I took a half bottle of Buckfast at the cinema as well. So we all got in the mood for it. And I've been obsessed. I watch this film like every 3 or 4 months. It's that good. It's got one of the best soundtracks as well. If you love like 80s music, the Firm's right up there. And Paul Anderson's a fantastic actor. So it's literally about a young laddie that wants to join a firm, and then he finds out that it's not all what it's made out to be once you're in it, and it can be quite a dangerous place. And it's pretty brutal actually. There's some pretty heavy stuff in it, but there's plenty of comedy as well. Much like Football Factory, there's plenty of comedy in it. So that's a good one. Now, if you
Oh,
want something that
sorry, I only
hmm,
seen that recently.
the
And
remake,
the remake, I've only seen that recently,
yeah,
and I agree, it's a brilliant film, and the
oh,
soundtrack is terrific.
yeah, the song "I Found Lovin'" by the can't remember the artist. I discovered that song through that movie, and it's like one of my favorite songs. Incredible. So another one again, hooligan film, but this is, in my opinion, my favorite kind of like casual film, right? And not a lot of people talk about it because it kind of went straight to DVD, I think. 2009 Away Days, right?
Oh my.
This movie is an absolute belter. So this is Pat Holden directed this one, and it's got Stephen Graham as the top boy, like the older guy. He's incredible in everything he's
Oh,
in.
he's
But again, it follows a similar story to The Firm. It's about a young guy that's kind of on the fringes, and he wants to get involved with these lads. And again, once he gets involved, it gets quite heavy. I think what Away Days does, which The Firm doesn't, is it doesn't just dabble with alcohol, it dabbles with drugs, depression, it dabbles with everything. Some really, really heavy stuff in it. And to be fair, for a movie that's, as I say, in a lot of genre like Football Factory and all that, there aren't many laughs in the movie. It's pretty hard hitting, so it's a brutal movie. I think it's one of the best um, British crime films out there, in my opinion. So yeah, Away Days is a cracker.
I'm sure I've seen that.
And I think that might be me. I think it might have yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But just to kind of touch on what you said about ID, right? ID is amazing, right? The 1995 film. Um, Reece Dinsdale's just unbelievable in that film. I recently watched ID 2, and I thought it was just going to be, I thought it was going to be crap. It was going to be a bargain bin kind of knockoff, but it's not. It's totally not. No spoilers, but you will see some of the old faces, and there's some stuff in it that's pretty heavy on as well. I was like,
Right,
how did they get away with that now? Because they wouldn't have got
watch
away
it.
with it back then. So if yeah, I've said to you before, ID2 is worth a watch if you can find it. Very, very underrated. It's nowhere near as good as the
Yeah.
original, but it's a nice follow up. It's yeah, so yeah, some crackers there. So yeah, those are just some of the football films that we like. Obviously, for anyone that's listening or watching, let us know on X what your favourite films are if you've missed any. Um, and yeah, I'd be interested to hear. So that wraps up the movie stuff for this week. So I guess that brings us on to what games have we got lined up this week, Ryan? So I'll let you go first, mate. What have you got
Um,
planned?
I can't actually believe it's March this weekend, but I was having a wee look at
Hi.
what I'd scribbled down, and I think Leaf are playing Armadale on Friday night
Oh yeah.
at Meadowbank, so good chance to go and see Leaf. Hopefully, continue their good form. So probably that on the Friday night, and I noticed Arniston are playing down in Peebles on the Saturday. I've been to Peebles ground before, but it was an amateur game that I saw years ago, so I've not actually been for a Peebles game. So I'm quite tempted to go down to that, weather dependent, because it's not too far. So
Mhm.
see what the weather's like and maybe go down to that. What about you?
Yeah, so I need to see. So I guess not non-league. So we talk about league football. Tuesday night, Raith Rovers against Greenock Morton. Just a quick kind of shout out. So, I mean, it's normally about it's 21 up to sometimes 24 against Dundee United. They've slashed the prices to a tenner because they
Good.
want a bumper crowd there. And to be fair, a lot of people, certainly me, I've been going quite a lot recently when I can. So to go to that game for a tenner is an absolute bargain. So I'll be doing that
That's
Tuesday
class.
night. Yeah, it should be a good game. Saturday, I'll try to go to a game. I've got a whiskey distillery tour on the Friday night, so the chances of me making it to a game on a Saturday might be up for debate. But if I do manage to make it out, and I'm still standing, I'll most likely probably end up at Cowdenbeath versus University of Stirling, but I'll just see what happens. To be honest, you can never tell. I
I'm
done the Johnny Walker tour recently, but that was on a school night and I was behaving.
Harry.
So yeah,
I'm
Friday
la
night could be
I'm
risky.
laughing. I'm laughing because I'm just picturing the Still Game episode when they go on the whiskey distillery tour. I've just got this vision of you cutting a bit going, I'm Clark Gable. Filtered through there.
Yeah. I'm
That'll be
sure.
good.
Yeah, I think. Sure, it is a whiskey distillery tour, or is it? I don't know. It's some kind of tour, but it could end. It could very much end up like still game. Yeah. Find me in the cellar. I'll get arrested or something. But yeah, so that should be good. And then yeah, I think that probably covers it. I might go to a women's game on Sunday, but again, depends what time I get up. I know that Livingston are playing Gart Cairn at the Tony Macaroni Arena. So
Mhm.
I'll see what happens. If I behave myself, I'll go to two games at the weekend. If I don't, I'll go to none. So we'll see how we get on and we'll find out on next week's show. So yeah, should
We're
be interesting.
we're at Falkirk on the Sunday. We're away to Falkirk, so hopefully on the Monday I'm in a good mood. Be a tough game because they're a good side, especially at home. But hopefully another win for me to be all smiles next week.
Yeah, here's hoping. They're in the top, was it the top three at
Uh, they
Falkirk?
they're third. We're actually on the same points as them, but
Oh, nice.
they're above us on goal difference. So a
Yeah,
chance for us to go above them if we can beat them.
super. Well, just have to go for it, eh? You know what I mean? So hopefully we'll have good news next week. So yeah, those are the games. Try to think if there's anything else to call out. Anything on your mind? Anything else you want to raise?
We're still a good few weeks away from it, but we touched on it briefly earlier. This month is obviously the Scottish Groundhop week uh,
Yeah,
weekend, which is the weekend of I think it starts the Friday the 15th of March.
yeah,
I'm saying this month, next month, but we're almost in March, so it's no too long before that, which is obviously a really good opportunity to go and see three or, 3 or 4 games, 5 games over the course of a weekend. So we can maybe build that up a wee bit more over the coming weeks,
of course.
and talk
Yeah,
about those games because plenty of action and entertainment there. I think.
yeah. And it's I think 5 games at 5 grounds I've never been to.
Yep.
So I don't know how many or which games I'll go to, but regardless, it's all grounds I've never been to before, which is pretty cool actually. I mean, obviously I like going back to grounds I've been to, but
Mm,
it's always nice to go to a new place you've never seen before. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
So
Plus,
yeah,
there's going to be big crowds there as well, so it'll be good atmospheres and that as well on those games. But aye, just thought mention that it's coming up soon. So over the next sort of couple of weeks, we can maybe start building building up to that. And I'm sure after it, we might have to have a bumper episode after it to,
oh yeah,
to talk about
definitely,
other
yeah,
games.
yeah, that's a good shout. Cool. So yeah, I hope everyone has a good week of football. Obviously, there has been a lot of postponements over the last few weeks, but hopefully touch wood, this week the games go ahead. Enjoy your week, folks. Take care, and we'll catch you all next week.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys.